Most people aren't weak by nature. They were trained to be. From birth, we're taught to obey, not to think for ourselves. We're told to sit still, follow rules, fit in. Schools reward memorization, not self-awareness. Parents, trying to keep us safe, often teach us to be afraid of risk. The system works best when we stay quiet. But what if you were never supposed to follow this path? What if weakness isn't a flaw, but a design? You were never shown your real power. You were shown how to play a role, but deep inside you something still remembers, something still resists that quiet voice. Here's truth trying to wake you up. Look closer and you'll see. Our world is built to keep you small. Governments, media, schools, even religion, they all reward the same thing: obedience. Don't question, don't rebel, stay in line. From ancient empires to modern companies, power has always been about control. The philosopher Michel Foucault once said, "Power is everywhere, not because it crushes you, but because it shapes you." This section reveals how the very structure of your life is a kind of invisible prison. And the most dangerous part, you've been taught to love your cage. The truth is, the moment you stop needing permission is the moment you start becoming strong. You don't have to fight, you don't have to suffer, you don't even have to move. Modern life is easy, food is delivered, entertainment is endless. You're more comfortable than any generation in history. But at what cost? Comfort has made us soft, weak, addicted. We fear discomfort more than we fear staying stuck. But real strength doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in resistance. The Stoics knew this. The warriors knew this. The sages sitting in silence knew this. If you always choose the easy way, you'll never become who you were meant to be. Here's the twist. Most people choose weakness because strength has a price. It demands effort, discomfort, and change. And that's terrifying. If you become strong, you can't blame others anymore. You can't hide. Psychologist Carl Jung said your deepest power lies in the shadow. The parts of you you've been taught to fear. Most avoid it. But those who face it change everything. This is where most people stop. They stay in the safety of smallness, but you don't have to. Who are you really? Not your job, not your name, not your past. That's just a mask, a story you've repeated so often you've started to believe it. But behind the mask, there's something real. Ancient teachings call it the self, the soul, pure awareness. The world keeps you distracted from it. But once you taste it, everything changes. You stop chasing, you start remembering. This part of you can't be broken. It doesn't need permission. It already is strong. You just forgot. Now, you remember. Strength isn't built when life is as easy. It's built when you're on your knees, rock bottom, rejection, loneliness, failure. That's where power begins, not in victory, but in the decision to rise again. The hero's journey always starts in darkness, and then something shifts. A spark, a whisper, a step into the unknown. Will it hurt? Yes, but the pain is sacred. It's the fire that forges something new. Most people turn back here, but not you. Real strength is quiet. It doesn't shout. It just is. You stop waiting for someone to approve of you. You stop needing applause. You stop asking if you're allowed to follow your truth. And in that moment, you become dangerous. Not to others, but to the system that needs you weak. This is what every mystic, warrior, and awakened soul eventually finds. Freedom begins the moment you trust yourself. No one else can give you that. This is where many turn back, because real change is lonely at first. You'll outgrow people. You'll be misunderstood, but that silence you fear, it's not emptiness. It's space for your real voice to return. Everyone who ever awakened had to walk alone, even just for a while. But you won't stay alone forever. You'll find others. Not in the crowd, but on the path. The quiet ones, the rebels, the ones who refuse to settle. The choice is yours. Keep pretending, or walk into your power. Strength doesn't look like dominance. It looks like peace. You're grounded, clear, awake. You know who you are, you stop reacting, you start choosing. This life doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be true. You speak less, you listen more, you walk with purpose. You stop chasing validation. That's what strength really is. Not the world's version, but yours. Here's the truth. You were never broken. You were never weak. You were asleep, caught in a dream, living someone else's story. But now you're waking up, you've seen the game, you've felt the fire, you remember who you are, and now it's your turn to decide, go back to sleep, or rise into the life that was always waiting. The world doesn't need more people pretending to be strong. It needs you, real, awake, and unshakably free. You were not born weak. You were trained to be. Since childhood, you were told what to do, what to believe, how to act. You were told to sit still, follow rules, and not ask big questions. That's not strength, that's control. Real strength comes from knowing who you are, not from following the crowd. But the system doesn't want that. Look around, most people live in fear, afraid to speak, afraid to stand out. That's not an accident, that's the plan. Weak people are easier to control. The world gives you distractions so you don't look within. You chase likes, money, and approval, while your true self is forgotten. Have you ever stopped to think why do I do what I do? Most people are stuck in a loop. Wake up, work, scroll, sleep. No real joy, no deep purpose. They're not really living. They're just running a program, but you can break the cycle. Comfort feels nice, but too much of it kills your spirit. You were made to grow, to move, to evolve. But comfort makes you lazy, quiet, and numb. If everything is easy, you never get stronger. Growth lives outside your comfort zone. What are you really afraid of? Failure, judgment, being alone. Most people stay weak because they're afraid of what happens when they change. But fear is just a door. Behind it is your power. Step through. You are not your job. You are not your mistakes. You are not what others think of you. You are something deeper, pure, powerful. But that part of you was buried under fear, lies, and expectations. It's time to remember who you really are. Inside you is a part you hide: anger, pain, desire, fire. Most people run from it. But in that shadow lies your strength. Don't fear it. Face it, own it. Carl Jung said, "You don't become whole by being perfect. You become whole by being real." One day you realize something's wrong. You feel empty. You feel stuck. You know you were meant for more. That moment hurts, but it's also the beginning. It's the crack where the light gets in. This is the part where people quit. It gets hard, lonely, confusing, and they run back to comfort. But if you keep going, something amazing happens. You stop breaking down and start breaking through. You don't have to wait for anyone. Not your parents, not your boss, not society. You are allowed to change, to grow, to live your truth. The moment you stop asking for permission, you become free. Strength isn't loud. It doesn't show off. It's calm, grounded, clear. It's in your eyes, your choices, your energy. Real power is not control over others. It's control over yourself. As you grow, you'll lose people, friends, family, old habits. That's okay. The path to truth is often walked alone, but it's not forever. You'll find new people, ones who see the real you. You'll mess up. You'll fall, you'll doubt. That doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human. Real strength is not about being perfect. It's about rising every time you fall. Deep down, you know it. You feel it in quiet moments. You hear it in the silence. You were made for something more than just surviving. You were made to feel deeply, to live fully, to shine brightly. Don't settle. Don't shrink. This is your moment. You've seen the truth. You've felt the call. You're ready. No more pretending. No more waiting. You were never weak. You were just asleep. Now, it's time to wake up. Life is loud. Notifications, opinions, endless noise, but deep inside you is a quiet voice, the voice of your soul. Most people can't hear it because the world never stops shouting. But strength begins in silence. Can. You hear it now? Scrolling, clicking, watching, swiping. You're not lazy, you're trapped in a loop designed to keep you numb. But every time you distract yourself, you lose yourself. Awareness is the first escape. You were never taught how to think, only what to think. True thinking is dangerous to the system. It leads to truth, freedom, rebellion. That's why you were trained to follow, not question. But the moment you start asking why, everything changes. Pain isn't your enemy, it's a signal, a whisper from your soul that says something is off. Most people numb their pain, but pain is honest. It shows you where to grow. Stop running. Start listening. No is a full sentence. You don't have to explain, you don't have to agree. Weakness says yes to please others. What if I told you that weakness isn't natural, that you've been trained, groomed to stay small? Most people don't fail because they're lazy or broken. They fail because they've been told, over and over again, that they can't be powerful. This section starts with a hard truth. Weakness is a choice you didn't know you were making. We explore how schools, media, even our own families pass down quiet messages that say, don't stand out. Don't speak up, don't question. You learn to shrink before you ever learn to expand. By the end of this section, you'll start to see it. The system isn't just broken, it's built this way, and you've been living in a lie that was never yours to begin with. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a history lesson. From ancient empires to modern governments, from organized religion to mass education, systems have always used fear, shame, and distraction to keep people in line. This part of the journey shows how the game was set up before you were even born. We talk about how the Roman Empire kept people quiet with bread and circuses, how the church erased teachings that spoke of inner power, how today's world keeps you hypnotized by screens and scared to speak your truth. This section doesn't just explain what's wrong, it reveals why the world needs you to be weak. And what happens when you refuse. Here's the twist. Even if you escape the system, your mind can still keep you trapped. This section dives into your inner world, how your own thoughts, fears, and old stories hold you back. We explore how childhood, experiences, society's messages, and even your brain chemistry teach you to doubt yourself and believe that you're not enough. You'll learn how your ego builds a prison from the inside. It whispers, stay safe. Don't try, don't change. But safety isn't strength. This part is a wake-up call because if you don't take back your mind, nothing else changes. Now we shift from breaking illusions to finding truth. Deep inside, you already know you were never meant to be weak. This section brings ancient wisdom into focus. From mystical teachings to modern stories of transformation, we explore the forgotten truth. You are more than what you've been told. Your power isn't something you need to learn. It's something you need to remember. This is where you reconnect with your core, your soul, your intuition, your inner fire. Not motivation, not hype. Real, grounded power. And once you remember that, nothing outside you can control you again. So how do you escape? Not just from the world's control, but from your own fear. This section reveals the journey in 3 stages. Let the burn, destruction. You must let go of who you were taught to be. It's not easy, it might hurt, but it's the first step. Remember the truth, awakening. In the silence that follows, you'll begin to hear your real voice, the one you've buried. Live fully aligned. Power. Strength means action. Not in anger or ego, but in truth. Your thoughts, words and choices must now match the person you really are. We guide the listener through these steps like a ritual of rebirth, because escaping isn't just about freedom, it's about becoming. Even after waking up, there's one last trap. The ego comes back, disguised as power. This section is the twist. revealing how some people escape the system only to fall into pride, arrogance, or superiority. True strength, we learn, is not loud. It's not about control or dominance. It's about humility, about knowing that you're powerful and still choosing to serve something bigger. Here we draw from Taoism, mystical Christianity, and the quiet wisdom of sages. Real power is silent. It doesn't need to prove anything, and it never forgets where it came from. Now comes the final moment. Everything has been revealed. The lies, the systems, the traps, the truth of your soul. But truth alone isn't enough. Now you must choose. Do you go back to comfort, or do you walk the unknown path and claim your strength? This ending leaves the listener with a choice, not a conclusion. It's not a story that ends, it's a door that opens. Will you keep hiding, or will you rise and burn the cage behind you? Most people feel stuck, like something is stopping them, but they can't explain what. What if your weakness isn't your fault, but it's not an accident either? We set the stage with mystery. This isn't just a personal issue, it's a global one. Why do billions of people live quiet lives, afraid to take risks or speak truth? The answer? They've been trained to be weak, without even knowing it. From the moment we're born, we're programmed. School teaches us to follow rules. Media tells us what to want. Society teaches us not to question. This section reveals how weakness is installed in your mind slowly and silently. You're taught to avoid discomfort, to doubt your ideas, to be small, be quiet, be safe. By the end, the listener realizes they've been tricked into believing their cage is freedom. Here we pull back the curtain. Weak people are easy to control, easy to sell to, easy to silence. Governments, companies, even religions, many of them benefit when you feel powerless, because weak people don't resist, they obey. We explore how ancient empires used fear to keep people quiet, and how today's systems, school, social media, even 9-to-5 jobs, do the same, just in smarter ways. The point is clear, you staying weak helps them stay in power. Even if you break free from outside control, your own mind can still hold you back. This section explores how your thoughts can become your prison. Self-doubt, fear. I'm not good enough. These lies live inside your head like ghosts. They whisper every time you try to grow. Here, we introduce a truth that changes everything. Your biggest enemy might be your own voice. What if you're not scared of failure? What if you're scared of how powerful you really are? This section flips everything. Real strength means taking full responsibility. No more blaming the system, your past, or anyone else. It's terrifying, but also it's the only way out. You don't fear weakness. You fear who you'd have to become to finally rise. Long before modern life, ancient cultures understood human power. Mystics, shamans, and sages taught that every person holds a divine spark, something infinite inside. But over time, these teachings were hidden, burned, twisted, forgotten. This section brings back those lost ideas. You'll learn that your power isn't outside you, it's inside, and it's been there all along, you just forgot. Now, it's time to remember. Now we get real. This isn't about motivation. This is transformation. We walk through a simple 3-step process anyone can follow. Break the illusion, start seeing the lies you were told. Begin questioning everything. Awaken the fire. Get quiet. Listen inside. Your real self is waiting, but you have to tune out the noise. Live in truth, speak up, act bold, move with purpose, even if it scares you. Even after hearing everything, most people will still choose comfort. They'll go back to scrolling, numbing, hiding. Why? Because freedom means responsibility, and responsibility is heavy. Here's the final danger. Some people escape, only to fall into ego. They think they're better, wiser, above others. This section is the twist, a reminder that real strength is humble. It doesn't shout, it doesn't need attention, The truly strong walk softly, serve others, and keep learning. Because real power isn't about control, it's about alignment. Strength isn't built in a day. This part offers simple, real practices to grow stronger day by day. Say what you mean even if your voice shakes. Do hard things on purpose. Spend time alone and listen deeply. Cut out what weakens your mind: media, gossip, lies. Once you rise, others will feel it. You'll inspire without trying. You'll speak and people will listen. This section shows how your strength can become a light for others, not through preaching, but through presence. One awakened person can spark 1,000 more. Everything's been revealed: the lies, the traps, the truth inside you. Now it ends with one question. Will you keep hiding, or will you finally rise? You can stay safe, stay weak, or you can walk into the unknown, claim your power and never look back. Don't wait to be saved. Become the one who saves yourself. You spent so long searching out there, for answers, for strength, for meaning, but it was never out there. It was always in you, buried, waiting. Now, it's time to rise. They want you to compare, to feel behind, to feel not enough. But comparison is a lie. Your journey is your own. Flowers don't compete. They just bloom, so should you. Stillness is not doing nothing. Stillness is power. It's presence. It's being here, fully. The world is always rushing. But you can learn to be still. And in that stillness, find clarity and strength. Want. To know if something is true. Check how it feels. Truth feels light, free, expansive. Lies feel heavy, sticky, confusing. Start trusting that feeling. It's your compass. Your energy is sacred. But you give it away to people who drain you, to things that don't matter. It's no wonder you feel tired, lost, small. Take your energy back. Where attention goes, life flows. No is a full sentence. You don't have to explain. You don't have to agree. Weakness says yes to please others. Strength says no to protect peace. Every no to the world is a yes to yourself.